Welcome on in. Endswell Boxing, Ireland's boxing podcast. I'm Al Rich. Click on the link in the attached show notes. You'll find all our previous episodes. If you want to get in touch, suggestions, ideas, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you can email us at endswellpod@protonmail.com. You're welcome on in indeed. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be in your ears for episode number 104. 104, would you believe? And right from the jump today, I'm going to give a big shout out, a big happy birthday to a little big man, Rocco Duffy, all the way down in Australia. His mum and dad, our Joey and Dobbo, have been a huge part of my journey. So happy birthday, little Rocco. I hope you're having a good one. I hope you got spoiled rotten. In a week when we've hit the top spot in the Irish Sports News podcast charts, and as happy and as delighted and as proud and as humbled as I am, I'm always mindful, always conscious and always wary that you're only a success the moment that you commit that successful act. And from there on, you got to build on it and consolidate. So that's what it's about. And I want to thank everybody that's listening and everybody that's downloaded, streamed, contributed, helped in any way, shape or form. The dreams are big. The hopes are big. The plans are even bigger again. Stick with me and we'll all get there together. Coming up in today's episode, we have the Irish-American boxer, MMA fighter and former WBO featherweight champion Heather Hardy.
My manager said to me about a month ago, he said, listen, I don't know what to tell you. 1 minute you're eating fucking pizza in the towel, and the next minute you're talking about healthy workouts. And
joining Heather also as a guest on this episode is two-time Irish elite champion from the Dublin Docklands club, Emmet Brennan.
I think a few weeks actually away from it actually will be beneficial. Where you don't really want to be training flat to the mat at the moment, especially you don't have a plan.
Jumping into the shout outs because I missed them last week and I was pulled up on it, and I love being pulled up on stuff, so going to get the shout outs done. Sharky, Dean Byrne, Siobhan O'Leary, Yasmin Gray, Collie Cahill. Thanks a million to everybody who's commented and been in touch and replied to any of my messages and stuff. If you get a chance, get along to Colin Cahill on Facebook, have a listen to his cover version of Bed of Roses, one of my personal favourites. Cracking tune, and thanks again, Collie. Eddie Tracy, Mark Buckley, shout out to you guys out there in Bray. Hope everything is going well. And Ella McChrystal, who invited me onto her Insta Live conversation last Friday night, where we did an hour's chatting about pressures and perfection and everything else, and it was really good. So thank you for that, Ella. Always love that. Now here's a special Endswell Boxing shout out to a very special lady. Most of you will remember Judy Fitzgerald, and a frontline champion. Judy's a nurse as well as Miss Fitness Ireland, a model as well as a ring card girl as well as everything else, and she was on with us early in the podcast life last year. Judy was in touch. Listen, amazing work you and your cohorts are doing, Judy. When history is written, I don't know will it ever be able to be repaid, so thank you, and as they say in America, thank you for your service. Keep up what you're doing, you're an inspiration. Dean Byrne, quick off the mark as always. Dean, thanks a million for you and your messages. Lots of anniversaries and memos popping up across social media. Some of them bring a special smile because when they pop up on my page, they can take me almost instantly back to where I was last year when I posted them. And a lot of confusion and a lot of questions and a lot of will I, could I, should I, would I? And the answer to all of them now is yes. And in place of some of those doubts have come some fantastic relationships. Some pretty special. And that's all we'll say. Junior and Wolfie Thompson, big shout out to you guys over there in Liverpool. Junior, of course, is a middleweight boxer. His dog, Wolfie, is one of the most fascinating dogs I've seen. One of the most intelligent, one of the most entertaining. Shout out to you guys. And of course to his coach, D Tag. Thanks a million, D, for all your help, all your comments, all your insight, all your advice, and all the research material. I really appreciate it. Levi, Alison and the gang, hope you're all well. As I said earlier on, to Dobbo, Joey, baby Rocco and the rest of the family, hope you're having a good time down there. Hope you're all safe. And you've had a rough 2020 in Australia. To Dennis, Desi, Nick, all the different gang in Australia that I don't want to Bobby, Main, all those guys, everyone that's been in touch so regularly. Kieran Mooney, Laura, Anya, all the gang. It means the world. And I hope you've had, as I said, you've had a rough 2020. You're on the bounce now. This COVID-19 thing will be in the past. We'll be looking at it in the rearview mirror and we'll be cruising off into the sunset thinking, yeah, we walked that. Special mention, of course, to my old pal, Chris Viva Le Vegan in Newbridge. Credit to you, my man. You've been there right from the jump. Right from that jump. And it goes back farther than podcasts and farther than careers and businesses and everything else, all the way back. So, special shout out to you and thanks again for all your encouragement. Nicola, Binny, G-Train, Stacey, all the guys that have been in touch. Really, really appreciate it. Short while ago, began following a lady that looked familiar on Instagram. Local girl. I'm not going to mention any names. Recognised the face. Of course, put the name to the face, and a bit like the Christy Moore song. Sean McComb will always love Christy Moore references here. It'll be, I know your face, or your Paddy Riley, or your Brendan Grace, or something along those lines anyways. But yeah, spotted the face. I was like, I know that girl. Started to look at what she was posting, and she was learning, she was teaching, and she was getting to know what she doesn't know, as we all are. She was bettering herself every day. I was really enthused and inspired by some of the posts, and I reached out and sent a couple of messages, and I invited her on because she's doing some work and some teaching and some learning in the fields that we're all trying to learn in, which is of course in the boxing game and boxing relevant business. And with most accounts, unless they're a particular friend or close friend or one of the circle, I don't focus too much on social media. I'll spend a little bit of time if I'm watching TV, but I'm watching some good stuff this week. Stay tuned to see what's coming up on that. Some cracking stuff. But recently I noticed that there wasn't any posts. And then I did happen to look. Page was gone, I think, or I couldn't find it. So more often than not, it's a case of me not knowing and me not being able to find it and me just being a dope. So yeah. Anyway, long story short, I noticed on the weekend the page came back online and there was a post, and I thought, oh, there's the fresh face again, the smiling eyes and everything else. And it pained me to listen to the video. And it pained me to hear her story and subsequent messages backwards and forwards. And let me just add to this that I don't know this person too well. I don't know her very well at all. And I've never met her. Haven't met her in close on 20 odd years, I think I would say. Or more, if even. And we got chatting backwards and forwards. And as it transpired, she had been infected, shall we say, by a type of person who had generated an existence, created a whole persona, and had became a person, or I suppose a figment in her life, who was built completely on lies and deceit. Little by little it had leaked from her real world into her mind, and it started to affect everything she was doing. Now, as I said, I don't know this lady too well. I don't know her at all. I'd be telling you a lie if I did. But what I did notice was that the little spark that was there when I started following the page early doors wasn't as bright as it had been. Always bright, but just a little less bright, shall we say. And I don't want to be disingenuous. I don't want to be cruel, or I don't want to claim that I know a whole lot of anything about anything. But you can see sparks, and when you're looking to see, you will see. But what she explained to me was that this negative entity, shall we call him, had become just a toxic, negative, projecting all sorts of things on to her and her energies. And in effect, you could call it gaslighting. You could call it coercive control. You could call it what you like. But basically, just somebody that you do not want in your life. Somebody that was dragging all the good out of you. There was an energy vampire. And we see it varying levels in life. We see, and I have to be careful how I choose my words here, and I am choosing my words here, but I'm smiling as I think about it. And there's all sorts of names, there's all sorts of tags we can put on these people. But at the end of the day, what they are is a drag on you. There can be a drag on your everything that you do good and everything that you feel good about. They can suck the good out of it. They can take the energy away from anything by one mouthful, sometimes without even trying. It's just come so natural to them. The toxicity just flows. Now, we've all encountered them at different times in our life. I've encountered them. You've encountered them. Everybody has. Some are able to deal with them. Some are able. Some are willing and able, and just don't. Some are willing and able and do, and some are just not able. I consider myself a strong mind, a strong enough will, a strong enough personality. I don't suffer fools. I don't. And the older I get, the less inclined I am to tolerate any sort of it. But what I have as I get older is I've become far more empathetic. I've become far more willing to reach out to people. Far more willing to just connect and try, even if it doesn't have to be anything behind it or for it or any reason for it. Just say, hey, how are you? Is everything alright? Smile. Or something simple. And I had to learn in my own life, as I said, my little journey is no secret. It's been discussed and we've chatted about it here plenty, and it will be plenty more. But for me, when I got to my crossroads, I had to figure out certain personas and certain personalities and certain entities in my life at different levels of my life of importance. Some were key, some were very big, some were less. But by and large, when you start to figure out where the negativity is spewing from, and when you find the toxicity, and you find where the unhappiness is projecting from all the time, and you realise, okay, well, can I fix that? No. What can I fix? What can I do? Who can I have? Me. What can I do? So what can I do? And little by little, the conversation I had with this lady was those steps of realisation from herself. And all I can say here now is, and I'm not going to be any way prophetic, I'm not going to be any way judgmental, I'm not going to be any way thinking I'm above or thinking I'm in any place to be able to give much, if any, advice. But what I can do is say what I did, which is one by one, if the negativity and the toxicity and the unhappiness and the hate can't be sorted from your side, well, then it needs to go. And it's not easy sometimes. It's easier for some than others, but at varying points of your life, until it gets to the stage that you're that unhappy or that unsatisfied with everything around you, well, then you're not going to be willing to change anything. It has to get to the point where it's just too much, and then you change. And when you do, life becomes a whole lot easier. So what I can say to you is, keep smiling, keep that chin up, work on the footwork, keep doing what you're doing, and in the words of Brendan Ingle, obsess yourself with the sport, because you're doing amazing. My first guest on this episode, I've been chatting with in the background for some time now. Around about Christmas time, I started chatting and conversing and planning. And no better time than now, I suppose, when most, if not all, boxers are trying just to occupy their hours and their days and keep themselves busy. But it's a real pleasure to welcome her to this episode and to talk a little bit of how she's been lately.
Representing Brooklyn, New York, Heather the Heat Hardy.
Tricky and somewhat unusual times for all of us. How's it been for Heather Hardy?
I mean, yeah, it's been 10 years since I've been home so much, so I'm cooking and, doing all sorts of domestic shit.
I'm seeing a whole new side to some people and most people across, certainly those who spend their time across social media since lockdown began. Safe to say everybody is dealing with the stress in different ways, and kids as well.
I think that it's our job as parents and adults to realize that our kids, while they might not be suffering, the equal suffering might not be there. Like, adults have to worry about finances and things like that, but we're adults. We can adapt. Yeah. I think that we're teachers, we're parents, we're enforcers, we're rule makers and stuff. We have to be extra kind to our children right now because, their temper tantrums, they're not doing schoolwork. They're adjusting just as we're trying to, but they can't pick up a beer. They can't go outside and smoke a J. They got to just try to deal with their feelings that is already hard enough for these young kids to do. So it's up to us as parents to absorb the extra for our kids.
When we talk social media, Heather, yours is as real as it gets. I believe real people need to see and like to see that on a daily basis. Nobody's immune from the pressures of this.
No, but I think that it's important for people to see that there's no glamour on the other end of the Instagram, right? Like sure, I post some glamour shots and some fancy stuff and, and everything, but at the end of the day, I'm still a mom. I still work full time. I still have the same problems you guys have on a different scale, Like, I'm not a multi-millionaire earner where I'm living in this great big house. I'm in a very small 1.5 bedroom apartment with a 15-year-old who hasn't left the house in 5 weeks. If somebody would have told me in February, like, hey, you know what? Next month, you're going to be unemployed. And you're going to be homeschooling your kid, I would have said you're crazy. I would say you're fucking crazy, but here I am, unemployed, hustling, trying to put food on the table, and at the same time trying to create a good psychological space for my kids. So the outlet that I use for my social media, all the fans, the interaction, I do it for a few reasons. First, when outside the fans going to get to interact with us like this? Normally I don't have time to answer all the questions, to do the lives, to interact, It doesn't just help y'all, it helps me. It gives me something to do. And, but I go on a roller coaster. My manager said to me about a month ago, he said, listen, I don't know what to tell you. 1 minute you're eating fucking pizza in the towel, and the next minute you're talking about healthy workouts, let's do all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what, bro, that's, I think, where we all are. It's a roller coaster. One day you're happy and grateful that everyone's safe and everyone's healthy, and you get to cook and be home and make fucking cardboard paper planes with your kid. And then the next day you want to throw them out the fucking window, right? Like, you really, and it's okay. It's okay to admit that be a little crazy.
Do you think the rigours of camp, the battles in the ring and out of the ring and in life in general, and the strength that you've endured and been able to build up have stood to you in these past few weeks when the going has got tough?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we learn how to fight through life. We learn how to come out on the other side, especially when it seems like sometimes there is no other side. I always talk about that, like in the beginning of my career, right before I started boxing, I was fighting battles that there was no end in sight. I didn't have a lot of money. I was working 6 jobs, trying to feed my kid, just throughout my whole life, by fighting battles that no matter how hard I fought, I couldn't win. And you get into a ring, and you realize, like, no matter what, you have a chance. I mean, that drives you. That kind of motivation drives you. I remember there weren't hours in the day for me to earn money to feed my kid. And this was less than 10 years ago. I just looked at a Facebook memory, and it was from 2010, and it said, can you believe it? I have my bachelor in science degree, and I can't even get a job answering phones. I was unemployed. I was hustling to put food on the table for my kids. And now here I am. So I think that's also part of the reason why this whole pandemic has not got me too crazy, because I've been at the bottom and made myself my way up. And I don't doubt my ability to be able to do it again.
And is it realistic to hope when things return to whatever they call quote-unquote normal, that maybe we'll see a different and a better approach in the sporting world and the real world, as they call it?
I've learned over the years not to expect too much. Like I was in New York right after 9/11, and we swore in those times after 9/11 that New York City, and it was just a short amount of months later that, the crime went up, murder went up, everything went right back to normal. I think that New York is a family, but a family in all, like, the bad ways of being a family. Like, when people need each other, when we have to rely on each other, we're there, right? It's like your brothers and sisters. Behind their back, you can't stand them. But God forbid somebody else says something bad about them, you beat their ass. And that, I think, is what New Yorkers is like. When we need each other, we're very, very open. Like, we're here for you. We're here for it. We put on for our city. But, at push comes to shove, at the end of the day, we're all just hustling, trying to make it out. The city moves so fast. So you have to be self-absorbed. That's why, like, we always have a bad rap. People will say, like, we're rude or we're cold or we're harsh and stuff. It's a busy city. That's like half people who live here, half tourists. So that means you got 50%. Every other person is trying to get to work. Every other person is trying to take a picture in the middle of the street. You know what I'm saying? We just get a bad rap like that. But at the end of the day, New Yorkers mind their own business. If you need us, we're there. If not, so when this is all over, I don't doubt for a minute that true New Yorkers, real New Yorkers, people who come from here, we got nothing but love for you as long as you don't fuck with me. Let me just make my money, get in my flow. I just pretend you're not there.
No, we can't talk boxing in New York City without talking about Lou DiBella and his promotions. How is that relationship for you guys?
Yeah, I would say with Lou DiBella, me and Lou have a love-hate relationship. Like, we be fighting all the time. He thinks my mouth is too big. I think he should pay me more money. But at the end of it, we check in with each other every 2 or 3 days. Just one little text. Hey, you good? Hey, you need anything? Everybody okay? Hey, you need money? You feeling sick? Mom doing, like, we have a very, it's like the New Yorker, like family in a bad way. Like, if you put us in a room for too long together, me and him will be cursing each other out. He'll be tearing up my contract. He can't stand me, but he loves me, and I love him. That's the relationship I have. He got my back. When push comes to shove, he does. Some people would say that he don't. They'd be like, oh, he don't care about you. You know, Lou is a funny guy like that. He's a very good business person, which there has to be a bit of in being a business person. But he has a heart. So sometimes he will fuck you over, then call you and say he's sorry. And you can't really ask for more than that. I respect him. I respect him because he owns his own bullshit.
Last 10 seconds, and are all the bells going back to Belgium? The feeling at ringside is they might be. Taylor running out of time. And Delphine Pissot for us. They will have it. The crowd.
One of the most spine-tingling boxing memories in the recent past was, of course, our girl Katie Taylor, round 10, heading down the stretch with Delphine pursuing Madison Square Garden on its feet. The camera pans wide and we get to see everybody in the arena on their feet, screaming and raucous and part of everything that was going on. How is that feeling? What is Madison Square Garden like?
Sure, that's where Billy Joel plays his piano. You know, when you're a New Yorker and you're a little kid, you go to basketball games, you go to shows, you never imagine yourself there. When I had my MMA debut.
Billy Joel, yeah, one of my favourites too.
Yes. I'm a New Yorker. I love Billy Joel. I've been to see him so many times. I mean, but just to say that, you know, to be in the same spot, I've been in that place that where they're just hardy. You dream of that when you're a little kid. So to be able to have it lived through that, those are top 5 life experiences.
Some of your opponents in the last while have been spiky, to say the least, haven't they? Is that something that you bring out? Do you bring it out of them? Do you draw it out? Is that part of your...
50-50. Some of them were for the cameras, like Shelly Vincent Beef. The first one was real. She hated me. She didn't think I was no good. Yeah, it was a genuine hate. But after that first fight, I was like, bitch, you love me. Because it was too good, you know?
Just want to underline as well that our chat was cut a little bit short on the night in question. Would you believe, as fate would have it, we had a power cut. I had a power cut here right about the time as we were just as we were chatting. So nevertheless, we had a great chat. We got a little bit covered, a little bit more to come, and we will certainly be organising that in the future. So watch this space. Don't know about anybody else, but growing a little bit tired of TV updates and COVID blues over the last few days and weeks and months. But one comment that really caught my attention recently, and I thought, is this guy for real? And Governor Cuomo in New York he'd been playing a good game. He'd been playing a solid back 9 in the last few weeks. And he claimed recently that, quote unquote, the virus does not control us. And us being mankind and humans. And I just couldn't help but stop and think and laugh and thought, oh, is he on the sauce? Is he on the crack? Is there something going on there? Has he been sniffing something? Because how does he understand? How does he go from burying people in open graves in New York 2 weeks ago to being storing cadavers and dead bodies in ice trucks or refrigerated trailers outside funeral homes and hospitals? Still doing so? And he says that it doesn't control us, but we're in control of it. Okay, Governor Cuomo. Cool, yeah. Give us one of those, whatever you're drinking there, son. America, as usual, is divided over political allegiances, really, to be honest with you. You can see the division, you can see where the lines are drawn, because some states will say, we want to open straight away. Others will say, no, we want to stay closed. Of course, it doesn't take an absolute genius to figure out that the ones that want to open straight away are the Republicans, because they want Donald Trump and his political and his regime to thrive and to be the ones to lead them out of this and to be able to get re-elected and see another 4 years of feeding at the trough. But the ones that don't want it, of course, are the Democrats, who can't even muster a decent candidate to run against them. But they see this as being an opportunity to keep everything tight, keep it all shut down. And what's getting lost on these greedy, overpaid, underworked politicians, who some of which can't even speak, is that there's human lives been lost in all of this. As I said last week, and there was a few people who reached out to say, hey Al, was everything alright? You were a bit anky, you were a bit aggy. No, I wasn't really aggy. Yeah, a little bit spiky, a little bit here and there, but I feel passionate about something, I'm going to say it. And I feel passionate when people are dying around us. And as I said last week, everybody that's gone, anybody that's passed away, what age, doesn't matter. What creed, doesn't matter. What religion, what nationality, where. Every single one of them wanted to get up the next day. Every single one of them wanted to hold their child, wanted to hug their loved ones, they wanted to spend time next week and the week after and the coming days and weeks. And they're gone. And that option was taken away. So politicians, just shut it. If you've got nothing to contribute to the real world, if you've got nothing good to help the real people who are going to be forced, one way or the other, when all this is over, by you lot, to pay, I have no doubt about that. If you can't help us and do it unconditionally, well then zip it. What am I watching and listening to this week? Well, I've got some I've found some good content this week. I've really had to go looking. And the top of the pile for me this week is Gangs of London. Enthralled. Absolutely enthralled. I'm engrossed in it. Watched 4 episodes of it last night and I'm probably going to watch another 4 of it tonight. It stars Joe Cole of Peaky Blinders and of course our very own Ireland's Emmet J. Scanlon, who has been in Hollyoaks and a few other films. Phenomenal programme. It's super gory, but it's super relevant. It's of course has that dark underbelly of the underworld. It is fascinating. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's definitely the best one I've watched in a long time. The other best one I've watched ever, as I've said before, is the sports documentaries go. The Last Dance. Michael Jordan, all about, maps all of his career from start to finish. We're up to episode 6. Absolutely brilliant, from the camera work to the way they speak to all of the major characters and the major players in his career. At one end or another of the scale, whether they're on his side or against him. Brilliant. So well done and so well documented. I cannot recommend those two highly enough. Another one I've watched this week, The Keepers. Now that one is tough to watch. Again, it's real, it's true, it's heartbreaking. And it's about an absolutely despicable, vile priest in Baltimore in the US. Most people probably know the story. And the things he went on to do to some to the kids that were under his care. It doesn't even bear thinking about. Anyone that hasn't seen it, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's not super gory. It's not super descriptive. It is tough at times when you look and listen to some of the victims, but it's about one nun who actually found out what was going on. I don't want to give too much of a spoiler on what went on to happen to her and what's consequent and the subsequent cover-up. Disgusting and not surprising, sadly. Something else I watched this week, 2 other things for you just quickly. On Netflix, Extraction is a movie starring, of course, Chris Hedgeworth, who is, of course, in Home and Away. All the ladies will probably know who he is. Tough guy, shoot 'em up sort of movie. Yeah, it was okay. Past an hour and a half. And the one that I watched for the laugh this week, No Pain, is Chris D'Elia's new comedy special. Brilliant. Love Chris D'Elia. Really good. And I can't recommend that highly enough either. So there's your watching for this week. Podcast, what have I listened to? Truth and Justice. I'm gone up to my ears in that again. I'm listening to the Bob Ruff, of course, is the guy that presents that. It's a true crime podcast, but he takes a case in history which has been controversial or wrong in most cases. And the West Memphis Tree is this one, and he's remembering the West Memphis Tree, and I'm just all over that one again. Really, really, really good. Rocky Road this week. Shout out Kevin Byrne. Man, you are absolutely resetting the bar. My man, you're unbelievable. You're on a run. Incredible. And he has on my pal this week, Wayne McCullough, who I'll be speaking to on Friday. So get your questions into me. Anyone that wants to chat with Wayne or have anything to say to him, I'll be putting it out this week. I'll put it out tonight. How about that? But his episode this week relives the unbelievable battle between El Terrible Eric Morales and the Pocket Rocket Wayne McCullough. What a fight that was. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a link for that fight in this too. Getting spoiled. And the last but not least 2 that I listened to this week, Truth Bangers podcast. Mary Kate Slattery. Gotta listen to that lady. What a woman. What a podcast. It's real. It's relevant. It talks to real people. Can get quite deep at times. If that's what you're into, well and good. If not, fast forward a little bit. But it's dialogue that resonates with people as they describe themselves. I'll put that in as well. And last but not least, of course, you've got to listen to Boxing Life Stories. Tris Dixon, Andy Lee last week. Brilliant. I love listening to him talk about Emmanuel Stewart, as I do chatting to Wayne about Eddie. That's your listening for this week. I'll put all the links in the notes below. When Joe or Josephine Public think boxing, most of the time they'll think Olympics. They'll tune in around the medal fights. That stage. So once every 4 years or so. Perhaps if there's a big fight in between. But as for amateur boxing, if you're not a die-hard fan, if you're not a a hardcore fan or somebody who follows a fighter or a fighter family or friend, you don't know the day-to-day life of an elite Irish champion in any sport, not just boxing. Emmet Brennan lives that life. Eats, sleeps, drinks and consumes it. It consumes him, and he has the titles to prove it. He joined me on Sunday to talk about his career to date, his plan, which has been adjusted for Olympics and everything else. And I started off by asking him how COVID camp has been treating him.
I think a few weeks actually away from it is actually going to be beneficial. Where you don't really want to be training flat to the mat at the moment, especially you don't have a plan going forward. I'm disciplined enough anyway, whereas I will train right and I will eat right outside of camp. So yeah, it's not really something that's bothering me at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that will come as a little bit of a surprise, Emmet, to some people, and it's not. And I understand what you're saying because I'm privy to speaking and being close with a couple of fighters who are living that life, and there's a lot of people will tune in at this time of the year every year, and they'll watch you lads and ladies do your stuff and bring home the medals, and then they'll zone out again for another 4 years. But it's not all glory, it's not all sparkling sunshine, and it's not all rosy, is it? It's a tough slog camp. And do you want to explain a little bit of the schedule of an elite performance athlete, whether it's boxing or anything else?
Yeah, well, so obviously we're out in Abbottstown, so we're out there Tuesday to Friday. We do 2 sessions a day, so we normally have either a physical or running in the morning. So that'll either be a track session or out strength and conditioning. So that'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. And then the evening sessions are always boxing. So that's Monday. So that's Tuesday to Friday. Then with their own club again on Monday and Saturday. So basically I train 6 days a week. And by the time you get to Friday, to be honest with you, you're wrecked. That's tough weeks training, like, they really are. Then you have everything else on top. You have your sports psychology, you have your nutrition. So it's a tough week. You have everything packed into it.
And it's not a case of, because a lot of people will say, what would be wrong with them? Some of them they're getting grants, they're living in a hotel. Sure, what's wrong with that? But let me say this, right? You spend any more than a night or two in a hotel at any length of time in the same hotel, and this is nothing on anybody else. This is no slight on anything. The walls start fucking closing in after a while, and that's why you see the bonds and the friendships, and sometimes the opposite creeping in. So it's a test of all sorts, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose that's where I'm lucky. So I'm from Dublin, so I go home to my own house. But like, even if you're away and I don't know, you're in Germany, you're in Bulgaria, or whatever, on a multi-nations, and you're there for a week or two. By day 2, you're sick of a hotel. Like as you said, it's just 4 walls. And my coach Jimmy Harper, he always tells me, there's no place like home. So it's not to be stuck in a hotel for 4 nights a week. It might sound luxurious, but it's far from it.
It's far from it when you're trying to make weight, when you're competing for your slot on the squad, when you know there might be a box off coming off, or when you're away and you have a test match. People don't see that side of it, and they tend to It's a fantastic track record. You box out of Docklands, is that?
I box out of Docklands now, yeah. So Jimmy's there with me and Philip Keogh, 2 great coaches.
Who've seen it all, done it all. They've pretty much come across anything there is to see. So it's a huge help to be able to draw on that on a daily basis, I'd say, Emmet, is it?
It's brilliant. So I've been with Jimmy. Jimmy's basically like family to me. So I've been with him since I started boxing. So I started boxing in St. David's. And Jimmy was the one that got me into boxing. So I've known him my whole life. And then I suppose I've been down in Docklands. I've only joined Docklands this year. And Philip Keogh has just been a breath of fresh air. He's been brilliant. Took me in like one of his own. The hours that he put into me was unbelievable. I probably can't thank him enough for it.
Well, you thanked him enough twice over the last 2 years. I mean, in the very highest currency. I mean, you're winning 2 elite titles. You're representing Ireland in the green vest, and just prior to this crazy little stage that we're going through at the moment, you had a pretty dramatic win in the qualifiers. That must have been a huge boost to everything that you've been doing all the way along, and it reaffirms your belief that you can't do not thinking that you can do it, to realizing, okay, I'm here now. This is what's happening.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I'm not taking that away from myself out of box. He wasn't a great quality of opponent, so in my head I was expecting to beat him anyway, but it was just you still had to go out and put the performance in to beat him. So down the road I will expect to be put my fight stand him. We went, obviously you don't expect the bleeding to stop anyone. It went a little bit better than we planned, but what I was happy about was we did come up with a game plan for the fight, and it worked down to work exactly how we had hoped. So that gives you confidence in, you already have confidence in the coaches, Dara and John Conn and Damon. They're obviously great coaches, but when they can come up with a game plan, and if you execute them, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna win.
Yeah. But and the magnitude of that win, Emmet, and the importance of it probably will be magnified a little bit now, because all things being equal and all things being as they were, you would have boxed the next day and probably the next day and and it was compacted in, and now you'd be sitting qualified for Tokyo. That's the best case scenario. But now it broke. Very strange. I was expecting it either to go the whole hog or not go at all. I knew you guys had flown out early. You were there a couple of days. I thought everything to that was really, really as we've come to expect from the boxing squad and the elite unit. You guys are nothing's left a chance. They brought you home a little bit early from Italy just to make sure everything was right, to keep you all right. They kept you tuned up, they kept you finely amped. The competition is like at that stage is trying to keep guard dogs on a lead, and to let them off at the right time. It's not easy, it's tough, but they did it. And then all of a sudden the plug. I thought once you were there and it started, I prayed once the first bout gets going, we're safe, and then dramatically. But the importance of your win now means that you're back training, you're back doing what you have to do, but you know now in your heart and soul that you've stepped on that stage first, you've got that win in emphatic style, and you've made your statement, and that can live with you until the next one. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that'd be fair to say. So, one thing that we always do is we won't look 2 or 3 fights ahead, so you'll just look at the next person in front of you. So, obviously, to win a tournament or to qualify, if you don't beat the person in front of you, that's not going to happen. So there's no really point in looking at 2 or 3 fights down the line. So when we were over there, we were only obviously looking at 1 fight at a time. But back to what you were saying about the tournament, I thought what they would have done was, I thought they were going to fight her out until everyone was qualified and then scrap her at that. I didn't actually think they were going to call it the 4 people were qualified. Looking back on it, I think a few people from other countries did get coronavirus over there. I think maybe a few of the Croatian athletes did actually end up with coronavirus, and a few of the Turkish. So it was probably was the best choice to call it at the time they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't the case of me wishing. Listen, I can't get enough of this stuff. I mean, the more I see you lads and ladies fighting, the better, and it inspires me. And what I'm doing, I'm doing it from a point of view, and I'm remembering the days where the teams of yore would have boxed abroad, and we might have heard maybe something about them coming back, maybe not. We might have heard about it a couple of days. Now, my goal and my aim is just to make sure that no one has to look, that it's there, whether they want to see it or not. They're probably going to hear it anyways, and then they can decide whether they want to listen to it. Because I believe what you're doing, not just on the world stage, but I believe what you're doing in your communities. I believe the fact that kids, these are tough times, and we've chatted to Niall Kennedy recently. Niall tells us about what he sees in service and everything else. We've seen it ourselves. We don't have to go outside our own. So the fact I chatted to your clubmate, Pierce O'Leary, I mean, the fact that your community has 2 fellas like yourselves to be able to look up to, and it's huge. It's huge, and it gives the kids something to aspire to. Does that bring its own pressure?
I wouldn't say it brings pressure, but it's probably, I'd never say see myself as a role model, but it does give you, boxing club for any kid. I just need not be a boxing club, any club, a football club, a rugby club, anything that has kids, putting their energy into something positive is always going to bring out a positive outcome. Yeah, if you have kids training 3-4 nights a week, it's only going to bring them something good for them. And in terms of boxing, it might be a little bit different than other sports that you have to have that little bit more discipline. I think it does learn you different things than other sports. Obviously, football, you're playing as a team, aren't you?
Yeah. More places to hide, isn't there?
Yeah. But then in terms of boxing, I suppose you are a team, and you learn, I suppose you get to know new people. I suppose most of my friends now are from boxing. So you do create relationships through that. But then again, you're the one that's taking the punches.
Yeah,
you're the one that has to make the weight. You're the one that doesn't have to eat the takeaway when your family's eating takeaway or chocolate when they're there. So it does give a kid that little bit of discipline, that little bit of drive to probably do a little bit better in life.
Your amateur mate, I suppose you would have done many rounds, and Tony Brown has a great way of putting it. It can be cliche, but you know when lads say it, and the way they say it, he says pressure is a privilege, and it comes with it, and it's something that the high performance and the elite unit, I suppose, ingrain in you guys, that you're representing, and you're doing it almost unknown to yourselves.
Yeah, I suppose in terms of, as you said, going back to the lads staying in the hotel 4 or 5 nights a week, if they have to go back and just sit in their room and look at the 4 walls, they'd be bored out of their head. So you would have to create a bit of atmosphere in the team. So it just makes life that bit easier, that to make the point go that bit quicker. Especially when you're abroad, you're in the likes of, as I said, Bulgaria, Germany, anywhere Eastern European. There's literally not a lot to do. You might as well create a bit of atmosphere in the team just to make things go by that bit quicker.
And tell me this, who is the worst culprit for pranks and acting the maggot and doing stuff? Because there's a few. I think I'd say they could safely put up a title for it itself, which could change hands on a regular basis, couldn't it?
Believe it or not, John Conlon, the coach, you get a good laugh out of John now. And then I suppose with the boxers, Wayne Kelly and Kurt Walker, they'd be 2 culprits. They're a good bit of crack on fairness.
I've had Kurt on here a couple of times. I haven't got Wayne yet, but my aim is in all this downtime is to get to ECE Champions League and get to ECE as many as possible, because I understand some people love.
They're 2 great lads on top of it all.
Kurt is in true northern style, he's the toughest, and he won't mind me saying this, the toughest interview I've done yet. I wasn't long at it, and it was like pulling teeth. It was like I was getting no, aye.
Of course.
And then once I mentioned Chinese food, he opened up like a flower and blossomed, and we chatted about everything. So we found that common ground, and it was great crack. And I've been in touch with him regularly ever since. He's a great lad.
Yeah, friends about them. They do love that group. They wouldn't be the best at making weight.
It gets a little bit. It gets into Paddy Barnes territory, does it, when it comes to tournament?
Yeah. Actually, we've all been there many times now, and I suppose when I was at 75, I would have been at the same boat with the 2 of them.
Tell me this as well. There was a little bit, and there's always upheaval, and there's enough red top rags out there to focus on all the downside and the negative. But I suppose in the run up to in the preparations for what would have been the ultimate countdown was the Olympics, we had, I suppose, award finished, moved over and all that, and it caused a bit of chopping and changing. So as you said previously, not necessarily this year, but you would have operated at 75, which that's where you won your senior, isn't it?
I won my first elite at 75, yeah.
Yeah, and you move up then now and you win one at 81. Is that, I know it's, to people who are in and around the sport on a regular basis, it's only 6 kilos or whatever else, but from your point of view, which is the point of view that counts, how much of a big change is that, Emmet?
So basically, it's changed my life moving up in weight. So I was fighting at 75. I've been fighting at that weight maybe for 7 or 8 years. I've been at 75. And it just got to a stage where it was affecting everyday life. I was growing out of the weight, but in my own head I thought I could still make it. So I was probably only, like, the training that we do up inside the farm is very, very intense. And then recovery wise, I was probably only putting about 2,000 calories into my body. So I was just drained. On top of being drained, I was dehydrated. And just even coming home, trying to have a conversation with my family, I was just getting frustrated. I was probably a bad person to be around just because the weight was affecting me that much. And then in terms of performance, it was getting to a stage where I was lethargic. I wasn't training proper. All my training was going just to make weight. I wasn't actually going to, there was nothing technical or nothing learning about boxing. It was all basically trying to get down to 75 kilos. So I'd fight at 75, and then I'd go out of the ring and I'd be 78 kilos.
After the fight?
After the fight, and then I'd have to make 75 the next morning. So it was just getting too much. And then I fought over in Ukraine there. That would have been maybe July of last year. And I won my first two fights. So it was like, fight, get out of the ring at 78 kilos, lose 3 kilos, weigh in at 75 the next morning, get out at 78 again, get out of the ring, train again, make 75. And then I got to the third fight and I got dropped in the third fight. And I remember just sitting with Jimmy after the fight and just like, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I'm moving up. And then just since I moved up, obviously I've got stronger because I'm an extra 6 kilos. I've gotten stronger, but I've put on weight and I've got faster. That's obviously down to not being dehydrated and lethargic. Family life's improved. I'm in college now as well, studying in strength and conditioning in Sapanta. When I was making 75, I was just miles behind them with studying and assignment. Even now that's improved. So just, as I said, overall my life just improved. It's probably the best choice I've ever made.
And that was within 2 years, wasn't it, of 75 to 81 that you won?
No, it was within, I won the elite last, it would have been November.
Yeah, the two of them were in this, yes.
So I only moved up to, that was my first tournament at 81, was the elite.
Again, for anyone that's not, because it was run because it's Olympic year, it was run twice in the 1 year, so you had 1 year. Yes, of course, there you go.
So I was only moved up maybe, I think 3 or 4 months there, I only moved up to 81.
So you were basically fighting against your body, battling.
Yeah, well it's just in terms of, if boxing makes you unhappy, is there even anything boxing? So it's just, making a weight have that much of it is, just move up in weight.
In terms of opponents, Emmet, when you're in the ring with a 75, okay, there's none of them are small. So 75 lad, as you say, by the time he gets in there, he's probably the same as yourself, 78 or thereabouts or more.
Yeah.
You're going up then to the bigger lads again. You're going up to 81. What's the most noticeable difference outside of the obvious? And what would be the things, I suppose, that would have concerned? I mean, when it comes to having people on your side, Jimmy Halpin is I don't mind saying, the best there is out there. He's experienced everything. He's been there with the very best, and one of my absolute favourites. I just keep saying it. I have a picture of the man here over me, and he'll be there for as long as this thing is going. Is Darren Sutherland. So he's played a key part in him and a key part in you. But what are the things that would have most worried Emmet Brennan heading into that 81 division? The things that would have been most worrying?
To be honest with you, Jimmy, nothing would have worried him. Second, I said I was moving up to 81. He said, yeah, let's go for it. And Jimmy didn't doubt for 1 second that I was going to win that league title. So be honest with you, in terms of, he's technically a very good coach, but in terms of man management and knowing how to treat a boxer and saying the right thing, he never gets it wrong. So he didn't really doubt it. He just said, in terms of physicality, we're going to have to put the work in to just build up to the weight. But I don't think he had any worries in me winning the elite title.
I'm watching a documentary at the moment on Netflix. I'm watching lots of them. I'm running out of quality content now at this stage. But one of the I would say the best sports documentary I've seen is the Michael Jordan one. It's about and it focuses that early in the series where he was getting out muscled by those Detroit Pistons, who are
I'm saying it, yeah.
Detroit bad boys, where all the bad boy boxers came out of Detroit at that stage as well. But when you say building up to the weight, I want to try and for anyone that might be new to it. We're talking about in the clinches, we're talking about on the inside, we're talking about actually physically moving with a fella. So when the amateur, as a rule, won't let you clinch too long, but the clinch can be long enough for damage to be done in there, can't it?
Yeah, of course it can, but the only thing is, so I'm small and blocky now at the weight, so I'd be one of the smaller people in height at the weight, but I'm using that to my advantage now. So if there is anything in the clinchers, I'm the smaller person, so that, if anything, I think that works to my advantage, because I will have shorter range punches. If that makes sense.
It does, of course. And we can't, I suppose, list the things that we want to list. I can't. I'd love to say some of the stuff that goes on. It's like the ruck in rugby and the mall, and people say, "Oh, these are gentlemen." Yeah, we'll just leave that one there, right? Because there's some dark arts that need to be learned, and if you want to see it, go watch these guys in operation, and they'll open your eyes, because there's so many layers. There's so much, even for you guys to get to the ring, and I never ever anything other than respect, and the same whether it's any form of martial arts or combat sport. Just getting in the ring or getting to the octagon or getting to perform. The mental battles that you guys are battling. How is that for you, Emmet? Is that something that comes? Is it something you're working on all the time? Is the mental side of it? Is it a battle against Emmet as well, or is it? Are you just used to doing it at this stage?
Well, no. So for me, well over 100 fights now. So for me, getting into the ring, it's the same for a footballer going out to play a football match. A rugby player, you go out and play a rugby match. It's a sport that you just dedicate your life to. You sparred probably thousands around. You fought hundreds around. So it's just another fight. And I suppose, like, if you don't have confidence in your own ability going into the ring, you're probably in the wrong sport. You know, so I wouldn't say, I don't really get nervous before a fight. I'd say again, more focused than nervous. But I always have 100% confidence that I'm going to win.
It's safe to say, again, something I'm learning coming around and chatting to. I've learned try not to meaningful interviews fight week, because I know what you guys, by and large, everyone is different, but I know what you guys, at that point, you're gone inside, you're gone into that shell, you're gone into that cocoon, not just as a team, you're gone individually. You go to that place where you need to be able to focus on you, and you need to be able to focus on taking up left the chance. Do you think then afterwards, is that something, the decompression time, and this is something here where we're at now, the elite performance is a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because when you're not doing it, then there's a risk there and a danger of decompressing and listen, I'm going to live for a little.
Yeah, so I suppose at the moment now, in terms of obviously where we are with training was, the only thing we can't do right now is spar.
Yeah.
We can do everything else. So what we're going to be working on, well, what we are working on now is tactics. So basically improving air technique and improving what works for us in the fight. So that's what the phase of training that we're in at the moment. In terms of physical performance, you can always get fit. You can always have to take 2 months to get fit for a fight. So at the moment, basically, we're just working on technical stuff.
It's like a maintenance. You're focusing on staying sharp, working on I suppose the science side of the fight, being able to tactics and stuff. Do you mind me asking, and feel free to answer this now, is there a plan in place from the unit? Would you guys have been in touch regularly and you're a case of working off stuff, each of you to have a plan?
Yeah, I won't go into too much, but yeah, we are getting kept in good shape. There's a plan in place for us. As there should be, because the sport it's not stopped. Like, you only need 4 square meters to do a bit of shadow boxing, so yeah.
And to be honest with you, that's the answer I expected. And had you said no, I would have been surprised, because listen, again, you guys are the tip of the spear, and it's not just in boxing; it's against all sports that are grand sports that are representing at the Olympics, representing worlds on that stage. It's what you expect, and I haven't been lucky enough yet to see the unit, but I've seen the photos, I've spoken to people that are in and around it. It's second to none, isn't it?
Yeah. The facilities we have up there, I would say that probably so. Again, we've been abroad, we've been to training camps in other countries. I don't think any country has the same training unit that we have. The facilities out there are top notch, they're unbelievable. And then, on top of that, we probably have the best support team in the world.
Yes.
Physios, nutritionists, we have everything we need, sports psychologists. So we're not short of anything in that area.
I want to give a little mention, and I don't want to offend anybody by leaving anyone out, but the ones that we're all conscious of, and the ones that are in the front, when it comes, they're behind you guys every war you go into. There's a lot more to the likes of Zor, John Conlon, and Dima than go. I've spoken to a few, like the likes of Grania, spoken to yourself, I've spoken to a few. John Conlon can be a father figure, he can be a coach, he can be a principal, he can be a psychologist, and all of those rolled into one. They're very special, those coaches, aren't they? They go far and above what anybody really, what the Joe Public or Josephine Public would believe or think.
Yeah, well, so obviously you're up there, you're training with them every week. You do build a relationship with them. So they do win with you and they lose with you. You know, obviously if you lose the fight, you're distraught. They're also distraught, but if they're not putting tens of hours each week into each athlete, and they are very, very good to us. They put a lot of effort into us, and I suppose even right now when we're not in the high performance, they're still putting hours into us.
It's very much a team, and just because they don't get in the ring and fight, they have their fight, because when it comes to squad selection, when they have a squad select or box offs, and then they have to pit themselves against these aren't people these are people that are living with you. Then they're fighting in the squad, making those choices or picking you guys up after they got to bring you back to the locker rooms and then bring out. It's not easy for them, so they might not be in there taking the blows, but they're taking a different kind, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they're a huge part of the team. Without them, they come up with the whole plan. So they come up with a game plan, so they're responsible for that as well. But they do a great job, and they always have our best interest at heart. So.
And tell me this, and you can answer this one way, like this is a bit of this is tongue in cheek. Roy and Eric and a few of the lads and Eamon O'Kane in the past, so many super performers and boxers and champions. They didn't give all their coaches the easiest time. What's Emmet like to manage? Is he easy going? Would Jimmy say you're giving him grey hairs, or does he have to follow you around
I was in terms of that, I was right now because
be careful now.
Yeah, I'd say right now I'm a bit older. I was never, obviously in my early 20s, you enjoy your partying and whatnot. But I'd say around 25-ish is when look, that's late, I know. That's when I probably started taking boxing serious around 3-4 years ago. And obviously that's when I started being relatively successful. So Jimmy wouldn't have had too much concern the last 3 or 4 years. And then I'd say the 3 or 4 years previous to that was probably in and out of the sport. So I probably would have given him a few grey hairs then.
Yeah,
but in fairness to Jimmy, he was the one that got me back into the sport around 24, 25. He said, come on, give her one more chance. And I suppose when I did go back, I knew I had to give her everything. There was none of the party and any of that other stuff that goes with it.
I think that's Gemma as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you can say this with a lot, there's so many champions and so many international boxers and that have won and lost at every level, including the highest. They've all had patches where they, and I think it's because where they've gone away from the sport for whatever length of time, whether it be for a month, whether it be for a year, whether it be for 6 months. But I think that comes from that double edge that I said, when you're decompressing from out that high performance, when you're decompressing from training for a senior title or whatever the case may be, or sometimes when there's an adversity or a tragedy or a loss, it tends to just go, fuck it, you know what I mean? I need a break from this. And that's where the really, really good coaches tend to say, there's no point in fighting this, there's no point in trying to pull him back, let him go for a little bit, and then they'll know.
Yeah, well, it's obviously sometimes a bit away from a sport or an activity, wherever it may be, where it can do you good. So, in my instance, I was coming back to the sport that I wasn't even out for that long. I was out for maybe a year, but even in that year, I was probably in now the gym doing a little bit keeping fit. But I hadn't fought. Then when I came back, so I would have come back for the Haringey tournament. That's about 4 years ago from next month. So I came back from that and I won it. And then after that I got injured again. So I was out for about 3 or 4 months. And then I was like, you know what? If I'm going to go back to this sport, I'm going to give her everything. There's going to be no messing in between. And looking back, it was probably the best decision I ever made.
You've got the silverware and you've got the accrediting and you've got the rankings now and everything ahead to prove that that's been a sensation.
I suppose I suppose if I didn't go back, I'd be out walking now and the Olympics would be coming up and I'd be thinking to myself, like, that probably could have been me. You don't really want to have them regrets when you finish the sport. You want to really know that you've given everything and look, you weren't good enough or you didn't get the way you wanted to get. At least you can rest easy, you know, and you give her everything.
I'm going to go against what you said early on, and I'm going to just to finish up on this. I know you guys and girls don't like looking too far ahead. You tend to look at what, and another super analogy that Jerry Hussey used to always use was control the controllables. And we're doing by looking at your Instagram, knocking out 1,000 press-ups on a Saturday as yourself and Ray Milet and that's it. And we have to give a shout out and we give a mention to the PA before we finish as well.
It was for his Cancer Society as well.
Yeah, phenomenal charities who are under as much pressure. Listen, I want to give another mention, phenomenal athlete and not a million miles from yourself there. Kelly Harrington posted something really beautiful yesterday, and it just goes to show you that no matter who you are, no matter where you are, we're all feeling it at different times and different days. Everybody, and it's not for me to look at Instagram post yesterday about a couple of people in hospital, and I don't want to go into it, but just read it, and I've no plans in admitting it, but the man card on the table for a couple of seconds after I read it, and I just had a little gulp. I thought, no, there you go. You know what I mean? That's what made me any different. None of us in this are any different, are we?
No, look at the times are in that we've never ever been in times that we are now. So I suppose the message from it is just look after each other. So we're all in it together. And if anyone is in a position to help out with charity, if you can donate I don't know, share a page, do a little bit of work for charity, it would be greatly appreciated.
I think we'll ask. I think I might give Kurt a shout and ask him will he donate the cost of a Chinese takeaway or something like that to something like that, because it's important. As much as it is important to raise it, it's equally as important to have a bit of crack over it, and that's what you're seeing. The characters are coming to the fore really. But just to get back to what we're saying, I know you don't like looking too far ahead because it's part of what you have to train out of yourselves almost. But if we were to say for Emmet Brennan, the Olympics now is gone 12 months away. Okay, so it's just an adjustment. That's just adjusting your preparation and thoughts and everything else, as you've said already. Get back to the qualifiers, get there, and then deliver as you always do. Could I ask you a little bit, if I'm not being too intrusive, what would be the long term? Would you envisage yourself maybe venturing into the pro ranks, or is that just too far away to even envisage it?
I suppose for me, so obviously, as you said, all I'm focused on is the Olympic qualifiers. I know I just need two wins, win me first 2 fights and qualifiers. But that is all that I'm focused on now. Getting over the line. I suppose in terms of going professional, it's never been something that hugely had huge interest in. I suppose I've always think the program is more of a business and the amateur game is more of a sport. Is the way I'd look at it. But I suppose if I was to go professional, it would be obviously after the Olympics. And so I'm actually on 29 tomorrow, so I'll be 30 by the time the Olympics comes around. So if I was to go professional at 30, I would only go if I could get the right fight from off the bat. So I wouldn't want to be fighting any journeymen. I'd want to be straight in fighting Irish or English people with winning records.
Testing yourself from the get-go. Yeah, I'm not wasting 2 or 3 years.
Otherwise, the professional game doesn't interest me slightly. And the reason behind that is because it's very, very hard to sell tickets. So, if I'm at 30 years of age, if I'm, I suppose, put myself under extreme pressure to sell 100 tickets, and then I'm getting in the ring with, I don't know, some fella from Poland or Bulgaria that, let's be honest, isn't a great fighter. So I basically sold 100 tickets for a fight that I know I'm going to win, and I can't really see myself doing that. And
when you're used to facing fellas of higher quality on a regular basis, if you're away on test matches and stuff, you're facing fellas that would eat and sleep, would just sleep them in a second. So I know what you're saying. I understand that.
I'm only going to do it if I'm going to be challenged. And look, if I do go professional, I will take fights that there's a chance I could lose.
Don't doubt that for a second. I can hear that same grow in you that I have in your club, mate. A word for Pierce O'Leary as well. You've seen him come up through the ranks, and the great Paddy Hyland spotted him many, many years ago, I think, when he was only a young lad. He's something special, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very, very good, and I think he's maybe gone 20. But he has ferocious punching power.
And he can
very,
box
very,
as well.
Yeah, he can box. He's very, very dedicated, which is probably the most important bit of it. And so he said when I was 20, 21, I wasn't living the life that he's living.
Well, listen, Emmet, happy birthday to you. We'll have this out. We'll probably have it out. You'll be 29 in a day by the time this comes out. It's been a privilege. I've wanted to catch you for a while. I've watched you I've been trying to time it right because I know you guys, it's important. Timing is everything, and your time is very special.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, Adam. Good talking to you.
And he's been busying himself, as well as keeping fit and keeping in maintenance mode for the last few days and weeks. He's also been knocking out 1,000 press-ups in a day, which is more than most have done in their life, probably myself included, for the Irish Cancer Society, which I'll include the link for the fundraiser for themselves and Pieta House in the show notes today. So if you can do anything, if you can give anything in any way, please do. You'll be supporting 2 great causes and you'll be supporting one of our great champions as well. So thanks again, Emmet. I think it's important, and I've always thought it's important, that people realise that boxing at that level is not a hobby. It's not a pastime. It's not something you do twice a week to keep the weight off or just to keep fit. It's an absolute obsession. It's all-encompassing lifestyle. And the team are equally as important and have as equally as much of a roller coaster ride as every one of those fighters do. So to John Conlon, to Zora Antia, to Dima and all the team that help cocoon our champions, thank you and congrats and well done, and help keeping them strong in these times. It's a credit to you all. It's a very, very special team is Boxing Ireland. Let's watch them, support them and get behind them all the way to what will now be Beijing 2021. Before I wrap up episode 104, I want to say a huge thanks once again. And I mean a huge, huge thanks. And I have a habit of repeating some words when I'm trying to emphasise adjectives. To all who have continued to support me, to believe, to listen, to contribute in whatever way. Podcasts can grow in many, many different ways. But for me, the only way, the best way, is together. There's a lot of different ideas out there in the world about boxing. There's a lot of untruths. There's a lot of misnomers. There's a lot of concepts. That every second person you meet is a liar, a snake, or a narcissist. And yeah, there are some. Without a doubt there are some. And we're coming across them a lot. I've come across a few of them. But thankfully, they're in such a small minority, they don't really count. And the best way I can put this, without becoming too cliched, is that boxing world really, and the boxing fraternity, they're like a big family. They'll fall out from time to time, might not get on, mightn't talk, might even fight, such is the nature of the beast. But the vast majority of them are real. They talk real, they live real, they are real. And most important, they recognise real. They welcome it. And the small percentage that fall into that slippery eel-like category and type, eventually they'll slip and slide and slither away, because they don't really matter anywhere. Bear that in mind. Support your friends, support your boxing friends, support our boxing family. Very special, and thank you so much again for supporting this podcast. And we're going to branch out a little bit over the next while. It's always going to be Boxing Heart, but there's going to be some different guests as well. That's it from me and them until then. Stay in touch, stay real, stay safe,